So, maybe you watched some YouTube videos and decided to buy a plane ticket, possibly costing you over $1,000. You land in the airport, make it through customs, and decide to take a taxi to the hotel where you're staying. Only the taxi driver drives around in circles for hours and takes you to the wrong place, and then tells you that if you want to go to your actual hotel, he is going to charge you double price. What do? Hello everyone, I'm an expat who has been living in Seoul, South Korea for several years now as an ESL teacher. And as an ESL teacher, I often fall into the tourist category because, like everybody else, I also watched many YouTube videos before coming here and was really excited to see and try many things. This video is gonna be part 2 of my tourism videos, and this video is gonna be about scams. So it is important to know this before the video starts, that tourism in South Korea has really risen past its pre-COVID rate. And the government's Ministry of Tourism is always hard at work to continue that trend because of the falling birth rate and Koreans choosing to leave the country for other countries. So tourism is a really good way for South Korea to bring money into the economy, not when people are scamming though, and because they don't pay taxes on scams. And it's also a good way to support the Korean won. So first, I am going to mention this article from the Korea Herald. This article is very consistent with what I have personally seen and experienced even in 2020. So first, this article details the story of a Japanese tourist who went to an unnamed skincare store, most likely in a tourism hotspot like Myeongdong. There were no prices on display, and the shopkeeper pressured her into purchasing a set of sheet masks, only for her to walk 2 stores over to another skincare store and find the exact same thing for a much lower price. Now, this is not an uncommon story amongst tourists for many reasons. According to the article, in the past year, tourists have filed 1,543 complaints about scams. And this is crazy to me because I too have been scammed and I never reported it. So I imagine there are many other people like me and that number is even higher. The main complaints also make sense. The main complaints were pushy sales tactics, confusing pricing, poor service, and overcharging, which are all of my main complaints as well. So let's talk about all of these things and how to shop in Seoul without getting scammed. One of the main things to avoid in Seoul: subway station shopping. Now, I know it's super tempting, especially when you're new and you haven't spent a lot of time in Seoul, because you see the store in the subway station and you want to go in and have a look around, especially because some of them do seem to be very trendy. It is the same as skincare. Avoid shopping for it in subway stations. And again, I know it's tempting because you see these giant packs of sheet masks that say like 1 plus 1, 75% off, or just anywhere on this kind of side of the road, like really like unofficial kind of clothing stores and skincare stores. Especially in places like Hongdae and Myeongdong and Seongsu, you need to be really careful, but there's other places you need to be careful as well. Places like Yeongdeungpo, for example. And I'll mention that again later. So I want to discourage you from shopping in these subway station stores. And I know the clothing might seem trendy, but it's really probably Shein and Temu quality, and they may be way overcharging you for it for what it's worth. So some people say don't shop anywhere without price tags. I say just don't shop at any of these kind of small shops because there's no way to know the origin of the clothes, jewelry, or skincare, and don't expect the shopkeepers to really be honest with you. For example, I have one shirt from one of these subway places, and it was a place I had walked by several times, and they weren't exactly scamming me, but I was probably overcharged. The shirt was on sale for like 19,000 won, about $20. And yeah, it was cute tank top. And the problem was the stitching was crooked. The stitching on the top was actually crooked, kind of like the clothing from Shimu. And this reminds me that people in South Korea are not typically friendly, especially to strangers. So they may expect you to be friendly to them, which is also unfortunate. But if somebody is being overly nice or friendly to you, especially like a shopkeeper, do not trust that person. Like if they're asking you a bunch of questions and all of that, maybe just like tell them to like go away. Just don't trust those people and try to like walk away. Greed can be really overwhelming amongst these small shopkeepers, especially amongst some of the elderly ones who have like poorly invested their money and lost a lot of it, which I know is a shame, but like again, you're not responsible for that. They shouldn't be scamming you no matter what their financial situation is. But yes, some of them have lost their retirement. Some of them are just like greedy. I mean, they're all kind of greedy probably, but some of them may have had money stolen from them by a business partner. We don't know. So you can't just feel bad for them just because they're old. So just avoid them as much as possible. Instead, for the best experience, I recommend mall shopping. For the Korean style, decent quality or good quality and good prices, or fair prices, I should say, I'd recommend stores that you can find in different shopping malls. And the ones I've had the most luck with are Spao, Uniqlo, Top 10, and Mushinsa. And nowadays you can find Mushinsa standard in most stores, and it's a very Korean style. I should say most shopping malls. It's very Korean style. And although you can note that Uniqlo is Japanese if that matters to you, but they just carry the Korean style in Korea. Additionally, I do recommend checking out name brand stores like Adidas or North Face or Snow Peak or whatever, the slightly more expensive ones for like special purchases, because they might have exclusive collaborations or items that you can only get in South Korea or like on the Asian continent. So again, I recommend these like legitimate stores that you will find in the malls. So you do have to be a little bit careful because the area leading up to many of these shopping malls and around many of the shopping malls is like full of all these kind of small clothing stands and shoe stands, and it looks like they have so much stuff for such a cheap price. But again, I would consider these roadside shopping and subway station shopping by my standards, and I would not shop in those places. And you'll see them like around like Yeongdeungpo, leading to some of the malls that I'm about to mention. So just be aware and careful about that. So some good malls that have good sales and also have the stores that I've previously mentioned in Seoul would be iPark Mall in Yongsan, Starfield, that's also connected to like a Shinsegae in Yeongdeungpo, but definitely don't walk around Yeongdeungpo, only stay inside the mall. Definitely, and there's a lot of stalls around Yeongdeungpo, so don't go to those. There's ANK Plaza in Hongdae, and there's like a lot of like legitimate shopping centers in Hongdae as well. And the Seoul Hyundai Mall and IFC Mall, they're both connected to each other in Yeouido. I think iPark often has a lot of good sales and pop-ups from my perspective, but they're all pretty good, I think. Plus, they're all also very large and have many stores. So anything, also typically anything that says like Shinsegae or Hyundai is gonna be okay. Those are like luxury brands. Just be careful to not shop in those kind of areas around them. Occasionally, you will run into a pushy salesperson, even in a legitimate store. And the great thing is, like, you're in a legitimate store or in a shopping mall, and so they won't cause a scene. You can just kind of leave and say, like, I'll come back later, or I'm gonna pick that up on my way out. So you don't have to buy it. Whereas, like, some people try to force you to buy things from, like, these clothing stalls or skincare stalls. There are rare occasions where stores outside the shopping malls can be okay. Um, so this is gonna seem really contradictory, but one store that you can find in the shopping malls, but also sometimes separate, is called ABC Store, ABC Shoe Store, and they sell like name brand shoes, and I think they have like their own brand of shoes as well. But there was a time at an ABC shoe store where the ABC shoe store did try to scam me. And this was a case of confusing pricing. And so what happened was I was with two other of my friends who are foreigners, and I was like, I really need a pair of sandals. I don't have any sandals, so I have nothing to match my dresses. And so I was like, okay, I went in and I found the perfect pair of shoes. And I was like, oh great, they're on sale because the sale price was 55,000 won and their original price was 75,000 won. And I was not willing to pay 75,000 won for this particular pair of shoes, considering the fact that they weren't really name brand. So I was like, okay, great, they're like at a good price point. And I took a picture of the poster to translate the words, and it just said like shoes or something like that. And I went and I took them to the checkout, and basically what happened was the person at the checkout charged me 75,000 won. And I was like, but I thought they were on sale. And she was like, oh no, it's only the black sandals, it's not the white sandals, even though the white sandals were the ones in the picture. And so I went home, I explained the situation to my boyfriend, and then he had to look at the picture, and I was just curious, like, if I was confused, like, what was going on. And so I had him look at the picture, and he's like, oh, this is false advertising. So he was willing to call, and they still tried to say, oh, but the sale was over, the poster was wrong, which is still false advertising. A wrong poster is false advertising, even if it's a mistake. He's like, yeah, but I'm looking at a picture of the poster that my girlfriend took, and it says the shoes cost 55,000 won. And so then they were like, oh, you can come back and trade it because they're like, you have a picture of the poster. Oh, okay. And they thought like we were gonna report them to the police, but I was just trying to get the like deal that was offered to me because I felt really scammed. Yeah. So I was able to go back and get the correct price for the sandals, and the poster had been taken down. And we didn't report it because I didn't really think that we could. They had taken down the poster. Also, this was definitely not the ABC shoe store in Itaewon. It was not in Itaewon. A time when I got scammed through clothes shopping was also when I was in Hongdae, and here the problem was overpricing. So I found a store with really cute clothes. I was living in Korea for less than a year, and I had not enough Korean style work clothes. So I thought this place seemed good for that. And the thing is, they didn't let me try on the clothing, and they said no refunds. It wasn't until I got home that I realized the clothing did not really fit comfortably and was not the best design or quality. Plus, I think the clothing was like way overpriced. Like, after trying them on, I thought, oh, this is probably worth like $5 per piece. Like, they probably could have sold it for $15 per piece. And I paid about 30 to 50 per piece. Like, I paid quite a bit per piece of the clothing, and it ended up being like quite expensive, and I definitely like bought overpriced clothing and I hardly wore them. So luckily I only really got scammed for clothing like the two times, the time where I bought the top with the crooked sewing and the time where I bought this clothing. Again, that's why I recommend just shopping at the stores that I've previously mentioned. My clothing that I wear the most is from those stores. It's lasted, it looks good, it feels good, it's made of much better quality, and they have better sales and fair pricing. The pricing is actually cheaper, so definitely I recommend the stores that I've mentioned, and I don't recommend these kind of roadside shopping places even if their clothing seems cute at first or even when they have price tags, because the place that I went to that overcharged me for clothing had clear price tags. I just didn't realize it was like way overpriced. So let's talk about jewelry. Jewelry is a tough one because they're almost all roadside kind of stores. There aren't, it's hard to tell what's good and what's bad because it's either like a roadside or a luxury basically. Although some more middle ground places are popping up, and some of the roadside places are pretty nice or like nicer than you would expect. So my example is once I spent a day shopping with my friends, and I was like, I want to look for jewelry, and we went into a jewelry store and we didn't know all of the red flags, but we did notice that not everything had a clear price, I guess, and also everything was like stamped with like a no allergy stamp, which seemed a little bit sketchy. And my friend filled up her basket, and because she thought everything was pretty cheap, and then she had gone to the checkout and she realized it was more expensive than she wanted, so she was gonna go put some of them back. And as she was taking them out of the basket, the lady was like, oh no, it's on sale, so you're actually getting a good deal. Like my friend was trying to put them away and she was trying to force my friend to buy them, and she took them back and tried to ring them up before my friend could take them out. And like me and my other friend and her were all just kind of frozen because we didn't know what to do at that time. Like now I would have handled that situation very differently. Luckily my friend didn't end up having to spend too much money, but the woman definitely wanted her to spend like a lot of money. The woman wanted her to spend like $100 on this like cheap jewelry. The unfortunate thing was later that day in Hongdae, we did find some nicer jewelry stores, and there are some nice jewelry stores around Hongdae, and some of them even have sterling silver products. But those stores were like very clearly nice stores, like very aesthetic, and they were also popular. Like there were other people shopping in them. And so it was more clear that those were nice stores. So I want to talk about skincare now. So there was a time in Korea before COVID where these skincare stores, especially in Myeongdong, were legit, and they were selling like proper products and good products, and the people working there would give you good recommendations based on your skin type. There was even a store called like La 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 that was very similar to Olive Young, and I really liked that store because it had a cute sign. But again, they've all gone out of business because of COVID, and Olive Young just kind of took over. So nowadays, any of the other places are not super legit. And I think maybe Tony Moly can be okay, but I don't think their quality is like the best, and I don't think it's that popular amongst Koreans. It's still a franchise, so I did notice like sometimes there's not like clear pricing on the thing because each owner can kind of change up the sales as they wish. I think Innisfree is like okay. It's a little bit overpriced, but I think they basically have the same sales at every store. And know that if you do shop at a Tony Moly or an Innisfree, they should be giving you like lots of free samples and like lots of freebies when you check out. And if not, then you're getting scammed or they're trying to like get something from you. But you shouldn't be paying full price either because they're always running sales. If they're not running a sale, they're trying to scam you. That's Tony Moly and Innisfree. But I recommend against shopping most of those places. And the best and safest places to get the best skincare are obviously Olive Young and Chicor, which have locations at most of the malls that I have previously mentioned. Olive Young has a really big store in Seongsu too, but they have other large locations that are less crowded. The sales are mostly the same across Olive Young. Inventory is not always the same though, so know that. But yeah, Olive Young in Chikor, safe. If you ever are in a bad situation with pushy salespeople in Korea, there are a few things you can do. You can pretend that you have to go somewhere like right now. You can say you forgot your credit card or your debit card at home and you don't have any cash. You can say you don't have any money. You can tell them like, I don't have any money with me. Like I don't have Apple Pay. I left my card at home. I'll come back again. Like you don't have to go back. But if you're like my friend and you already have your card out and the woman's trying to ring you up for a bunch of stuff you don't want, you can threaten to call the police. You can be a little aggressive. It's worst case scenario. You can threaten to call the police. Like, I'm really uncomfortable. I think I'm gonna call the police if you don't let me go. I don't want to buy this from you. They cannot force you to buy anything. Although they can be so pushy. Like, so pushy. You always think like, oh, I would never fall for that, but it's like they are like almost violating you. Like they're almost like literally pushing you around the store when they're acting this way. It's something you won't understand unless you've seen it or experienced it. So, according to the article, one of the main complaints, the most complaints, were made about taxis, and this is my main complaint as well. Every single female foreigner I know has had a scary and or disturbing experience with a taxi driver. Every single one. Like, not a single female foreigner I know, no matter what they look like race, height, weight, age, they've all had like a bad experience with a taxi driver. And I could make a separate video just about that. So if you want to hear some more experiences, I guess like I can share some of them. But I would say, in my opinion, taxi drivers are the worst people in South Korea, like worse than rich, rude people. And I do not like rich, rude people. But because of this, I just recommend taking the subway and buses. It's really easy. You just need to download Naver app and it gives you instructions for like which subways to take, how to get there. You can follow the signs in the subway station. And if you accidentally get on the wrong subway, it's not very difficult to like get turned around in the right direction. So I definitely recommend public transportation at all costs. Because I want people to be able to not have to take taxis, I am considering making a detailed video about how to use Naver Maps and public transportation in South Korea. I know it won't get a lot of views, but I feel like it will be able to help a few people who visit Korea. So that might be one of my upcoming videos, I'm not sure. But if you need more evidence convincing you to take public transportation, know that I was attacked by a taxi driver and I was attacked on a subway. Somebody tried to attack me on a subway and the police showed up so quickly and other people were there. The police watched the CCTV on the subway station and they showed up so fast when the person was trying to attack me. The crazy person tried to attack me in the subway. My experience in the taxi was so much scarier. And the taxi driver knew where I lived, so it was really scary. Again, in the article from the Korean Herald, a male tourist even mentioned taking a taxi from the airport to the hotel where he was going to stay, and the taxi driver tried to run up the meter by driving him around in circles, and then took him to the wrong hotel, and then tried to charge him like a bunch more money to take him to the correct hotel. And obviously, like this is so common. Like this is the vibe of the taxis. Like this is so common. Every time I have like this kind of experience, like with a taxi driver, this is like what they're doing. Like they're pretending to be so impossibly incompetent. And like, could you imagine being this incompetent at your job and still having a job? I think taxi drivers should be fired for doing stuff like this. Just fired, immediately fired. Because there's always evidence that this is like happening. Like there's usually some kind of video evidence or something like that. So I believe that they should be fired because if I as a teacher even assigned the wrong homework by accident, like I will get a warning that if I get another warning, I'm gonna get fired. Like I'm not allowed to be even a little bit incompetent. And this is beyond incompetent because their only job is just to drive you somewhere. Again, I feel like they're feigning incompetence in a way that they get really angry when you don't play along as well. So I cannot recommend taking taxis. Another story, again, very similar to a story that my friend has, said that she had left her phone in a taxi. She was a tourist who left her phone in a taxi, and the taxi driver told her she had to pay $500 if she wanted it back. And that's illegal. Side note, there is a law that's really messed up that like if a phone or item is over $2,000, you can be charged $500 to return it, which I think is absolutely crazy and makes no sense. Somebody please explain why this law exists, because so many people buy expensive stuff and they're like phone poor or bag poor. Like imagine buying like a $2,000 Apple product because you want to fit in and be cool and you want people to like you, and so you're already out $2,000 and it slips out of your pocket getting out of the subway, and now you're out $500 more and you're already like phone poor. That's crazy. So I don't get that law, but no, the taxi driver was not allowed to do that because her phone was not worth $2,000. If all of this does not convince you to take public transportation in Seoul, then I don't know what will. I guess you can take a taxi if you're in a group of people. But yeah, it's important to know that women will be targeted, but men are not fully safe either. And I don't think that I would take the risk even if I were a guy, because if you ask them if they're trying to scam you and you tell them not to, they will get really angry and probably try to harm you, similar to when I didn't play along with the guy who was trying to double charge me because I didn't know what he was doing. Like he was like off in his own world. They assume that you don't know anything if you look foreign. Like he didn't realize I'd been working in Korea. So like yeah, if you don't play along with their scam, they're gonna get really angry and try to hurt you. And I just don't think it's worth it, because also if you're a man, like if you hit them, then you can also like end up in jail. So again, like if I were a guy, I still wouldn't risk it. I've been told like by tourists I know, like people I know who came here as a tourist, and they're like, yeah, my boyfriend told me like taxi drivers try to scam them all the time and like don't let them scam you. And I was like, no, like if you don't let them scam you, they might try to hurt you, so you have to be really careful. Like don't take a taxi alone. This person was like dead set on taking a taxi. So to sum up, my advice is just shop in legit stores, the ones I've mentioned. Still be careful around those places. Like don't necessarily like think you're like, you know, hold them to their sales, like in the case of the ABC shoe store. Make excuses to leave if somebody is making you uncomfortable and being pushy. Threaten to call the police. Like you can be like, I'm gonna call the police now. But don't threaten taxi drivers because they will try to harm you if you do that. Don't take a taxi unless you're in like a group of people. But even then, I think it's still sketchy. But I think if you're in a group of people, it might be okay to take a taxi. Always report to the police and never report to the company involved if something does happen, because companies don't care. They might reprimand the person, but they probably won't. Like the taxi drivers who do these things don't get fired by the company. They would have to get arrested by the police for something to happen. Okay, so that is my video for today. It's a little bit long, so thanks so much. If you've watched this far, please like and subscribe. Bye!